All right, I hate to do this to you, but stand up again. Because I'm going to read our gospel lesson this morning, all right? Here it is. It's the parable of the bags of gold. Jesus is telling this story, and here's what he says. Again, it'll be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went once and put his money to work, and he gained 5 bags more. His name was Merrill Lynch. No, it wasn't. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned, settled accounts with them, and the man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you've entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. Look, I've gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of a lot of things. Come, share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I've gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come, share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you're a hard man, harvesting where you haven't sown and gathering where you haven't scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and I buried your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they'll be given abundance. And whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. Have a seat. So I started this series a few weeks ago on money. If you're a guest, you're thinking to yourself, oh, it never fails. It's all the church wants is my money. And I'm just going to tell you that it's not the case here at Shalom. I don't preach about money in that way. I don't preach it in a way that drives guilt and shame and all of those things. And so I'm hoping if that's been your experience today, we can redeem the time a little bit for you. And if you missed any of these messages, this is the last one in this series, you can go to our YouTube channel and just go to ShalomLifeChurch. All of our previous messages are there, including the first 2 in this series. I, as a little boy, by the way, let me just say something. I'm joking around with my kids a little bit this morning, and I just have to tell all of you in front of them, Nicholas and Nathan, you have no idea how proud I am of you. It is a joy to be your dad, and the greatest accomplishment of my life will not be all of this, it will be the 2 of you. And I love you so much. So, yeah. So I had the privilege growing up. My grandmother, who lived on Long Island, we lived in New Jersey, she would often come to get me on the weekends. And she was an old Italian grandma, kind of like literally off the boat. And it could be 85 degrees outside, and we'd be going out, and my grandmother would say to me, Danny, where's your jacket? I'm like, where's my jacket? It's like, it's hot out. Well, you need to have a jacket on. You're going to get sick. And I never forgot that. And a little while back, I was here in my office, and February decided to show up in November. And I made the mistake of convincing myself that I could walk out to my truck, which I happened to park on the far end of the parking lot, and I didn't need a jacket. You ever have a moment like that where you're like, it'll be fine. Like it's a short walk. And you step outside and you're like, I'm a grown adult. I can handle this. And then 5 minutes later, right, you're questioning every life decision you've ever made. I mean, that was me. I walked out of the church like it was July, and apparently the weather decided it was February. in November, and I'm halfway across the parking lot. I'm telling you, the wind hit me like it was personally offended. And I tried to play it cool. You do the cool guy shuffle, the tough guy. And however, inside, my body was already filing complaints with HR. And by the time I got into my car, I was shivering like you wouldn't believe. And here's the thing. I spent the next 20 minutes trying to get warm again. Heat on, seat heaters on. Why? Because I didn't take 3 seconds to walk back to my office to grab the jacket that was sitting over my chair, waiting for me. And right in the middle of me doing this ridiculous full body shiver hits me, and I thought to myself, it's way easier to stay warm than it is to get warm. It is way easier to stay warm than it is to get warm, because once you fall behind, now your body has to work overtime trying to catch up. You're burning more energy, you're stressing your system out, and you look like you're reenacting the final scene of Titanic. And here's the thing. Sometimes we do the exact same thing with money. We don't keep up. We pretend we're fine. It'll be okay. It's going to be fine. We'll get through it, And then the wind hits, and suddenly we're scrambling, and we're trying to catch up on something that would have been much easier if we would have just kept up in the first place. And today is about that. It's about what money would say if it could talk to you and I. Here's the last thing I think it would say to us. I'm easy to keep up with, but I'm difficult to catch up with. I am way easier to keep up with than I am to catch up with. And so if you missed any of the previous talks in this series, let me just give you a quick recap. In week 1, we said money can add meaning to your life, but it isn't the meaning of life. Money can add meaning, but it isn't the meaning of your life. You were created for something greater than you. In week 2, we said that money is a better servant than it is a master. Money is a better servant than it is a master. You and I will thrive, we'll do much better, we'll have more peace of mind if we tell our money what to do, not our money telling us what to do. And today, it's this. Keep up, or you'll be playing catch up. And here's the problem with any of us when it comes to money, certainly myself included, is we lose track, right? Sometimes, you get to those months that are crazy, like it's Christmas time. Like, how many of you are crunching numbers in your head because you got Christmas gifts to buy, right? And have you gotten to the time where you're all done, or the end of the month, and you say to yourself, it seems to me that there should be more money there. Or, I'm not sure where that went. I'm not sure how I got to this place. That can't be the right number. And you call the bank and you're like, is this right? Like, oh yeah, it's right. But here's the thing. Money is actually predictable. It's predictable. Ready? A specific amount comes in. And secondly, we send it places. That's it. A specific amount comes in and we send it places. And the reality that I want to kind of bring across to you today is we all should be knowing where our money is going. You ought to write that down. We all should be knowing where our money is going, because here's what I know to be true. I know it to be true of you, and it's definitely true of me and my family, and it's been true of many of us at one point in our lives or another. When we lose track, we lose peace. You're in a church called Shalom. The word shalom means total well-being. Every part of you working together under the umbrella of God so that you have peace in your life. That's why we're talking about money. Because I know that one of the quickest ways to get peace to leave your life is to have a problem with finances. And so when we lose track, We lose peace. The money worries rise. We feel out of control. And then money would say to us, listen, lose track of me and you're going to lose your peace of mind. And so often what we say is, well, if I'm going to get my hands around this, well, I got to have a budget. And there's some truth to that, but I want to talk to you about a budget versus tracking your money. See, a budget is a plan. You lay it out and you say, this is where I want my money to go this next year. But nobody follows those 100%. Right? How many of you have ever had a situation where you're like, you know what? I want to do this, so I'll just change that line. I'll take a little bit from there and I'll move it over here. That's all. That's all a budget is. I lay my money out in such a way that I say, I know what I'm going to need to spend, hopefully what I can save and all of that. But I want to talk to you about tracking your money because that's reality. Watching where the pennies go and where the dollars go. How many of you remember Weight Watchers? All right, put your hands down. Don't raise them again. How many of you did Weight Watchers? Keep your hands down. Now, Weight Watchers had this thing where, based upon your weight and how much you wanted to lose, you would spend exorbitant amounts of money on their meals, which tasted horrific. And each one of those had a point value, and you could only eat as so many points per day. And I could easily write out what my points should be and what meals I'm going to eat and what that needs to look like. That would be my food budget. But at the end of the day, I had to write it down. I had to write it all down so I could track it. And tracking changes behavior, just like logging in your food intake does. Writing where it's going, where you're actually spending money. And here's why this matters in every season of your life and in mine. In the lean seasons, tracking takes away the mystery. You don't have to wonder where your money's going. And when you have a lean season, you're able to see and you're able to know, you're able to make adjustments accordingly. It removes the mystery. You can see where things need to be adjusted. But then when you have seasons of plenty, you see just how much you spend on yourself. And all of a sudden you say to yourself, oh, man, I wondered where all that money was going. Well, maybe less stops at the Starbucks drive-thru, or less eating out, or less this, or whatever. And maybe in the seasons of plenty, when you're tracking your money, you can see how little you give away in practicing generosity. It could also be motivating and inspiring because you can look at your money and say, wow, look what's there. Look what I didn't spend. When I chose not to spend here, look what was there. So I want to give you a challenge here. I want you to spy on your money for the next 2 months. Spy on it. Take a little piece of paper with you or I have a little flip notebook, take it to the car with you and write down every time you spend something, write it down. Spy on it for 2 months and say, you know what? Where's my money going? Because I want you to have peace, wholeness in every area of your life. And here's the deal. When it comes to God, God does not want to get your money, but he wants to keep your money from getting you. And that's why we're talking about this. Let me give you a spiritual lens that we all can take a look at here. You know, when we look closely at our money habits, we see more than numbers. We see patterns. We see where we might forget, or where we might drift, or where we might avoid certain things, or where we pretend we're in control and we really aren't. It exposes something deeper in all of us. And here's what it is. It's the tendency to live as if what we have belongs only to us. I talked about this with you in week 1, about leaving a legacy, maybe in the lives of your children or your grandchildren. And if you see money as a means to an end, to something that's greater than you, you're going to have to track it now so you can be prepared for later on. But here's the other thing. All that we have belongs to God. Everything that you and I have has been given to us by God. We never owned it in the first place. And when you can live in that reality that God, this is yours, my time, my talents, my treasure, it's unbelievably freeing. But exposes something else in us when we start to look at it. It exposes our tendency to hold tightly out of fear. Some of you grew up in homes where everything was held tightly out of fear. There was never, ever enough. Some of you grew up in homes where generosity was the way, and it always seemed like there was more than you could ever know what to do with. And some of us grew up in between in those places. We have a tendency to live as what we have belongs to us, and we hold tightly out of fear, and our tendency is to trust ourselves instead of trusting God. And that's the passage that we read a few minutes ago. Who's the master in the story? He says to his servants, here's 5 bags of gold. I'll be back, do something with it. That guy goes out and he invests it. Gets 5 bags in addition, gives it to the master, and the master says, awesome. The guy 2 bags of gold, he goes out, he invests it, gets 2 bags back. It's good. By the way, that's good return on your investment right there. Master says, great. The other guy says, listen, I know how you are. You're shrewd. You take money from places where you didn't even invest. So I just buried mine in the ground. And the master has really harsh words for him. And here's the thing that parable shows you and I. There were 2 people who lived in trust and freedom. And there was one who lived in fear and hid what he had. This is all of us at different times. And the point's not guilt. The point is honesty. See, when we look at our finances, it shows that we need help beyond budgeting tools. We need a new heart and a new way to see money. Now, if I were to go to the end of that passage, which I specifically avoided because the last verse is a little bit tough. Listen to what it says. Take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Ouch. Here's the thing. Listen to me. We look at that and we say, judgment of God. Listen, don't raise your hands. Have any of you ever been in a place where money was such a challenge, it felt like your life was hell on earth? It was eating you alive from the inside out. So here's what I want you to see out of this passage when we look at this. Jesus doesn't tell the parable to shame us. He tells it to free us, so that you and I do not need to live under the burden of the worry and the fear of that. Jesus said, no, look, I've come along so that you can have life and have it abundantly. I don't want you to live in such a way that it feels like the worst of the worst is coming down on you. And then the biggest message of Jesus is not, do better and give more and God will be pleased. Here's the message of the gospel. God has already moved toward you with love and forgiveness and grace. And Jesus is the faithful servant, the one who handled everything the Father entrusted to him with courage and with generosity. He's the one who gave his life for us. And here's what I want you to know. When you and I have mismanaged, God will restore. And when we lose track or where we've lost track, God invites us back. And where fear controls us, he meets us with grace. And you can sing with confidence, I am no longer a slave to fear. I'm a child of God. That's why we don't give or steward money to earn God's approval. We do it because we already have God's approval through Jesus Christ. That's the gospel. That's the gospel. So what does this mean for our resources and for our money? It means that stewardship, managing your resources, becomes about freedom, not fear. Responsibility becomes about gratitude and not guilt. And tracking becomes about clarity, not control. And generosity becomes a natural overflow of being loved by a generous God. There's a word in Matthew chapter 25. He entrusted. He entrusted his wealth to them. Like God entrusts your gifts, your talents, your abilities, your resources, and says, look, I'm going to give it to you. And if I can trust you with little, then I can trust you with more. And when I can trust you with more, I'll trust you with more than that. So take everything that God has given to you, time, talent, resources, money, and steward it well, because 100% of it is His to begin with. And here's the thing we naturally want to say is, well, you know what? I'm not as talented as so-and-so, or I don't have the time like so-and-so, or I don't have the resources like so-and-so. Here's the thing. What mattered and what still matters is not the amount, but what you do with it. We'll have different gifts, different abilities, different talents, different amounts of resources. But here's the thing. The gift amount may be unequal, but the sacrifice can be the same. And here's the thing. If everything is God's, then every dollar is an opportunity, not a burden. If you're going to choose to have every dollar be a burden, not only going to make yourself crazy, but you're going to make the people around you crazy too. And really what you're doing is you're looking at it through a lens of fear and not confidence. By the way, if you need help in this area, when it comes to tracking your money, putting a spending plan together, just see Pastor Michael and I. We'll get your name, your email, and a phone number. And we've got some people in this church that are unbelievably gifted in helping you put plans together so that you can thrive in this area of your life. You'll be totally confidential. No one will know. But if you need help, get some help. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Build a simple tracking system. Start spying on your money. Pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on. Review it. Think about it regularly. If you're in a relationship, you're married, or you share resources with somebody, sit down and talk about it, not out of fear, not out of guilt, not out of shame, but out of hopefulness and out of gratitude. Then when you have to, make adjustments and be courageous about it. And here's what I'm going to guarantee you. 100%. You'll live with more peace, more shalom, more purpose, less fear, and you'll become even more generous. You become even more generous. So if money could talk, as we land the plane here, here's what it would say. I can add meaning to your life, but I'm not the meaning of life. I make a way better servant than I do a master. You ought to tell me what to do. And here's the thing. Self-control determines control. Want to get your hands around your finances? It's going to start with self-control. And today, I'm easy to keep up with, but I'm hard to catch up with. Here's the last thing. What you do with me speaks volumes about who and whose you are. So, I want to say thank you to all of you who live this out with kingdom-minded generosity. When you do, we're able to build our kids' ministries. We're able to build our student ministries. We're able to put a crate that's out in the lobby today, and there'll be flyers out there too. Because Love in the Name of Christ, who you heard from October 12th, on October 12th, is collecting socks and underwear for the homeless in our county. That bin is not going to be big enough for your response, because I know you as a church. So next time you're at Walmart or you're at Meijer or you're at the dollar store, just pick up some extra socks and underwear, please, from a store, not from your drawers. Whew, had to break the ice there for a minute. When you go out to the lobby today, there are some flyers to let you know. Your generosity has helped this church grow. Look around you. Look at the space today. We've got a seating problem coming quick. It's a great problem to have. We talked to you about our kids' ministries. Some of you, because of your generosity, you make it possible for kids to go to camp. And I'll just tell you my philosophy. We will never, ever, ever tell a child no because of money. Never. I'll pay for it out of my own pocket before we do that. And last weekend was a first for our church. We sent our 4th and 5th graders away on a retreat. Drew, can you fast forward to that video? Make sure the sound's on. Will, take a look at this.
This is the day you made, so I rejoice and be glad in it. And this is where I believe that you are more than enough for me. 'Cause you are faithful to your promise. You are strong when I am weak. When I'm standing in your presence, I have everything I need. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, my soul, bless his name. All that is within me say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, Jesus, come what may, you are worthy of all my praise. Oh, you are faithful to your promise. You are strong when I am weak. And when I'm standing in your presence, I have everything I need. The joy of the Lord is my strength. It's more than a feeling. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Stay on my soul, bless his name. All that is within me say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So let me rise like a river, overflowing. Holy Spirit, pour out, with no limit, overflowing. joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. It's more than a feeling. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Say, oh my soul, bless his name. All that is within me said, oh my soul, bless his name. All that is within me said, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it. King is my prayer.
Awesome. A huge thank you to James, Anna, Robbie, Carol, Jill for giving up your weekend last weekend to love on our 4th and 5th graders. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. You know, you don't know the seeds that are being planted in experiences like this in the lives of our kids. Some of these kids will grow up to be worship leaders, pastors, doctors, lawyers. You don't know. You don't know what's going on in their lives, that these experiences give them the strength to get through. Because, you know, there's people that love them and a God who cares about them so much. That's what God's called us to as a church, as well as we are a multi-generational church reaching people. So again, thank you for your generosity. Let me pray for you. God, I'm grateful for the opportunity today. I'm grateful for all that you've given to us. Most importantly, the gift of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And I pray that, God, as you pour your love into us, we would pour ourselves out for other people in the way that we live, in the way that we love, in the way that we are generous with our time, our talent, and our resources. In just a moment, God, we're going to give back to you. And my prayer today is the same as it's been for the last 4 years. Use every dollar that's given today to bring this message of life and hope and peace to Pinckney, to Livingston County, and ultimately around the world. In Jesus' name, amen.